I'm 35, sitting alone in my condo that feels both like a sanctuary and a crime scene. The air is too still, and every sound echoes against the silence she left behind. The last 2 days have crawled by like one long wreck in slow motion. Impact after impact, except I was conscious for every jolt, every crash, every sickening second of it. And somehow, I walked away with nothing but a clear head, an empty apartment, and a hard drive packed with truth. Chloe, my ex now, was 32. We had been together 3 years. She moved into my condo, the one I'd owned long before she ever came into the picture. To anyone looking in, we looked solid. We laughed, we traveled, our circles of friends blended seamlessly. On the surface, it worked. Underneath, though, there was always this subtle undertow, a current of imbalance. Little things I brushed aside. Her car died? The solution was me buying her a new one, registered in my name, sure, but with her promise to pay me back. Promises that never materialized. Her income, from a decent marketing career, was always hers. My money, on the other hand, was ours. I felt the inequity but buried it beneath excuses because I thought I loved her. It all came to a head with my yearly bonus. It wasn't pocket change, it was significant. I'd already mapped out what I wanted, investing most of it and finally upgrading my kitchen. But when I told Chloe, her face felt like I'd stolen something from her. She looked at me like I'd broken an agreement that never existed. Then she unveiled her own plans. A month in Southeast Asia, a spree of designer purchases, and a down payment for a luxury watch for herself. Not a suggestion, not a question. A presentation. A budget for my bonus. That was the moment I drew a line. I told her no. I told her it wasn't sustainable, that her spending habits were spiraling, and I couldn't keep acting like her personal ATM. Her reaction was textbook. Accusations hurled like grenades. I was controlling, stingy, financially abusive for refusing to let her drain me. It was dizzying, the way she twisted logic until up felt like down. But then something shifted. The outrage drained from her face. In its place was calculation, something cold-blooded. She studied me with reptilian detachment. So this is it, Alex. You're cutting me off. This isn't cutting you off, I told her. It's me saying we need to be partners. You don't get to burn through my entire bonus like it's pocket change. Her voice went sharper. I see what this is. You're breaking up with me. If that's what a relationship means to you, unlimited access to my account, then maybe I am. She stared, lips curling into something that wasn't quite a smile. Then came the words that flipped everything upside down. Fine. You want me gone? Then it'll cost you 3 years of my life. I want $50,000. Call it a severance package. I laughed. I couldn't help it, a sharp, disbelieving bark. You're insane. I'm not paying you to walk away. Her eyes hardened like stone. Her voice dropped into venom. You will. Or I'll go to the police and tell them you hit me tonight. That you got angry, shoved me into the wall, threatened me. A man with your career, in this building? An abuse charge would destroy you. They'll believe me. That was when my blood iced over. But my mind didn't cloud. If anything, it sharpened. Fear evaporated, replaced by clarity so pure it felt like steel. I looked at this woman I thought I loved and realized she wasn't Chloe anymore. She was a stranger, a predator. And then I remembered, my cameras. Months back, after some break-ins in the garage, I had overhauled my security. For cameras, professional grade. Wide angle, high definition, full audio. Living room, kitchen, entryway, balcony. Recording 24 hours a day, saved locally and backed up to the cloud. Chloe had dismissed them as paranoia and promptly forgot they existed. But I never did. And those cameras had just captured her entire performance. Every second of her fabricated, abuse scenario. I met her glare with a calm that unnerved even me. Do it. She blinked. What? Go ahead. File your report. March to the police and tell them your story. I won't give you a dime. You think I'm bluffing? That's your prerogative. But you're leaving my home tonight. She froze, expecting panic. Instead, she found nothing. No fear, no bargaining. Just cold resolve. That was the crack in her armor. She gathered her most expensive things into a single suitcase, shot me one last venomous glare, and stormed out. The second the door slammed, I moved. No adrenaline, no chaos, just method. I sat down at my computer, pulled up the security software, and bookmarked the footage. 6 hours worth of conversations, crystal clear audio and video. By the time she filed her false report, the evidence was already in police hands. Now she's the one facing charges. And me? I'm sitting in an apartment that's finally mine again, though it still feels haunted by the ghost of who I thought she was. Would you like me to keep building this out into a narrative with her police downfall and the aftermath? Like what happened when the detectives confronted her with the footage? Or leave it as a clean ending here with you holding the evidence? The night she walked out, I didn't waste a second. I opened the security software, highlighted the window from the moment I stepped through the door after work until the moment she slammed it behind her. 6 hours and 14 minutes in total. Every second captured in pristine 4K with audio sharp enough to pick up the faintest sigh. I exported the files, encrypted them, and saved them to a brand new external drive. Then I did it again onto a second one. Redundancy. Insurance. The truth sitting in black boxes no bigger than my hand. My next move was a phone call. Not to her. Not to anyone in her orbit. To a lawyer. And not just any lawyer, a heavyweight. The best criminal defense attorney in the city, recommended to me by a colleague who kept him on retainer for corporate matters. His name was Harrison. When he picked up, I explained it all with ruthless precision. Her threats, her exact words, the cameras that had been recording the entire thing. He didn't interrupt once. When I finished, his voice was measured but sharp. She said the words outright? That she'd fabricate charges unless you paid her. Yes. Every syllable recorded. Good. Listen carefully. You are not to reach out to her. Not to her family. Not to her friends. Do not respond to anything they send you. And when the police call, and they will, you will say one thing only. I will be happy to cooperate fully, but I will not provide a statement until my attorney is present. Then you call me. We'll let her walk into the very snare she set. So I waited. The drives sat on my desk like silent monuments, humming with power, holding my vindication. She thought she was playing the deadliest game possible. She had no idea I already held the playbook, the referee, and the instant replay. 4 days dragged by, an eternity of silence. For a moment, I almost let myself believe she'd back down. But a person who can level a threat like that doesn't retreat. They escalate. On the 4th afternoon, the call came. A detective from the city police department. He asked me to come down to the precinct regarding a complaint filed by Chloe. His voice was flat, professional, but the weight beneath it was undeniable. I followed Harrison's script. I'm willing to cooperate fully, but I won't provide a statement without my lawyer present. Then I hung up and called him. We arranged a meeting for the next day. I walked into the precinct with Harrison beside me, the encrypted hard drive in my briefcase. They ushered us into a small interview room, for blank walls and a table. Across from us sat 2 detectives. The lead introduced himself as Miller. His partner remained mostly silent, taking notes. Miller laid out Chloe's version. It was Oscar-worthy. According to her, our argument had exploded into violence. She said I shoved her so hard she hit her head against the wall. She said I screamed in her face, threatened to ruin her if she left. She rolled up her sleeve and showed them a bruise, claiming I'd left it by grabbing her. She'd wept in front of them. Shaken. Convincing. They had opened a felony domestic assault case against me. As Miller spoke, Harrison remained still, jotting occasional notes, his face unreadable. I kept mine equally blank, hands steady on the table, detached. Like I was watching a film where the main character happened to share my name. Finally Miller leaned forward. So Mr. Davies, that's her statement. It's serious. We'd like to hear your side. Harrison beat me to it. Before my client says a word, we'd like to show you something. This drive contains a complete video and audio recording of the entire evening. From 5 p.m. until after 11 p.m. captured by a professionally installed home security system. Every angle. Every second. I set the drive on the table. The detectives exchanged a quick look. This was not how these cases usually went. You're saying you've got the whole night on video? Miller asked. Yes, I said. Every moment. From when I walked in until she left. They brought in a tech officer, who plugged the drive into a workstation. I provided the password. The files came up instantly. I guided them to the living room camera feed at the timestamp where the argument began. For the next hour, the four of us watched. The conversation about my bonus. Chloe's voice sharpening while mine stayed measured. Her accusations of financial abuse. My refusal to cave. And then crystal clear. Her demand for $50,000, her exact words. Pay me or I'll tell the police you hit me. The audio captured it flawlessly. The video showed me standing 5 feet away from her the entire time. Calm. Hands folded. No sudden movements. No contact. Then the critical moment. Her storming toward the bedroom, swinging her arm hard into the doorframe as she passed. The exact spot where the bruise appeared. She didn't even falter. Just kept walking, grabbed her suitcase, and left unmarked. The last frames, me standing calmly, telling her do it, and her stunned expression before slamming the door. When the video ended, the room fell into silence. Miller exhaled long and slow, and turned back to us. The neutrality was gone. In its place, a grim anger, not directed at me. Jesus Christ, he muttered. His partner shook his head, disgust plain on his face. She bruised herself. And she tried to extort him on tape. Harrison leaned forward. Detectives, as you can see, my client isn't your suspect. He's the victim. False report. Attempted extortion. I trust you'll open the appropriate case file against Ms. Albright. The shift in atmosphere was immediate. I was no longer the accused. I was the witness. They took a full statement, logged the hard drive into evidence, and assured us they'd pursue it. As Harrison and I left, Miller shook my hand. I'm sorry you had to deal with this, Mr. Davies. We'll be in touch. That evening, Chloe launched her counteroffensive. She must have assumed her lie was sticking, because mutual friends started pinging my phone. Accusations. Disbelief. Can't believe you laid hands on her, man. She's a wreck. You need help. Her sister even went public with a cryptic Facebook post about cowards who hurt women. I blocked them all. Deactivated my accounts. Let them scream into the void. The real fight was already underway, slow, heavy but inevitable. And then came the second update. The wheels of justice may grind slowly, but when they're powered by crystal clear video, they move with terrifying speed. A week passed. On the surface, my life was chaos. Rumors, whispers, her allies fanning flames online. But I stayed silent. I worked. I lifted weights. I tried to bleach the stench of betrayal out of my apartment. Then Harrison called. His tone was lighter than I'd ever heard it. The district attorney's office had reviewed everything. They weren't just closing the case against me. They were going after Chloe. They're filing 2 charges, Harrison said. False police report, a gross misdemeanor, and attempted theft by extortion, a felony. The video is the cornerstone. It's airtight. When he said those words, I felt something lift from me. Not just relief. Something deeper. Like the world had been tilting against me for weeks, and suddenly it clicked back into place. This wasn't just going away. This was going forward. It didn't just collapse on her. It came back around with the full weight of the law. I first heard the details through someone I hadn't expected. A mutual friend who had been part of her chorus of supporters. They called me, their voice sheepish, to apologize for believing her story. What they told me was almost cinematic. Detectives had shown up at the apartment where Chloe was staying. She thought they were there to comfort her or build her case. Instead, they let her talk. Let her throw herself into another tearful, dramatic tale. Then with perfect calm, they told her they had the entire night on video and audio. The friend said Chloe's face drained of all color. She broke down, stumbling between excuses, sobbing, trying to claim she hadn't meant it, that she was just emotional. That it was all a misunderstanding. None of it landed. The detectives weren't there for sympathy. They Mirandized her and informed her she was being charged. The ripple effect was immediate. Her cheerleaders vanished. The same people who had blasted me online and in private group chats suddenly fell silent. Her sister's righteous social media tirades disappeared overnight. The storyline had been shattered. Then came the desperate maneuvers. My company's HR department received an anonymous email filled with incoherent accusations about me being violent, unstable, and dangerous at work. But I had prepared for this. The day after I first spoke with police, I had already gone to HR, told them a former partner was making false allegations, and that the matter was under investigation with clear exculpatory evidence. When the email landed, they recognized it immediately for what it was: transparent harassment. They dismissed it and added a copy to the file Harrison was building. The last-ditch tactic came from her mother. She called me sobbing, begging me to ask the DA to let Chloe go. She's a good girl. She made a mistake. You'll ruin her life if you push this. Her plea was drenched in denial. My answer was ice. Your daughter tried to extort me for $50,000, then filed a false felony report that could have ended my career, and sent me to prison. That isn't a mistake. That's a crime. It's out of my hands now. I hung up and blocked her. The audacity floored me. They weren't interested in the truth, or in what Chloe had tried to do to me. They only cared that she now had to live with the consequences. Harrison sent a formal cease and desist letter to her defense attorney, making it crystal clear that any further contact or harassment from her family would be treated as part of the case. Every frantic move they made only dug her hole deeper, building an undeniable portrait for the prosecutor of exactly who she was. 7 months later, it's finished. The system moves slowly, but it moves. Chloe's case never went to trial. There was no way it could. The 6 hours of security footage left no oxygen for a defense. Her public defender, looking worn down and defeated, knew there was nothing to salvage. Any argument that she'd been confused or afraid was obliterated by her own voice threatening extortion on camera. That one line was the coffin lid slamming shut. The district attorney's office came down hard. They told Harrison outright that cases like this, fabricated accusations, make it harder for real victims to be believed. They weren't just going to let it slide. They wanted a conviction to send a message. Faced with the inevitability of losing at trial, Chloe accepted a plea deal. She pled guilty to 1 count of filing a false report, and to a reduced charge tied to her extortion attempt. The felony was bargained down to a misdemeanor, but the penalties were still brutal. She walked away with 3 years of probation, a $5,000 fine plus court costs, 300 hours of community service, and mandatory counseling, including a psychological evaluation and anger management. Most damaging of all, a permanent criminal record. The fallout on her life has been as devastating as it was predictable. The record made her unemployable in her marketing career, where background checks are standard. She lost her job as soon as the charges were filed. Friends who once housed her kicked her out. Even her sister distanced herself. The last I heard, she'd slunk back to her parents' house in her hometown, far removed from the image she once cultivated of a sophisticated city professional. And yet, even after all of it, she hasn't learned. The story she spins to anyone who'll listen is that I ruined her life by using secret recordings to twist her words after she made an emotional mistake. The lack of accountability is staggering. As for me, the past 7 months have been grueling, expensive, exhausting, and sobering. The legal fees were steep, but worth every cent. Protecting my name and my future had no price tag. The ordeal forced me to examine myself, to confront the fact that I ignored glaring warning signs in the name of love. But I've come out the other side sharper, stronger. The condo is finally mine again, free of her shadow. The kitchen renovation is done. I even took a solo trip, something I'd never considered before, and it was one of the best experiences of my life. I've reconnected with old friends. Dating isn't on the table yet, and maybe won't be for a while. Trust is a currency I'm not ready to spend again. There was no dramatic showdown, no screaming match that ended with me triumphant. My revenge wasn't loud. It was quiet, methodical, and absolute. It was the slow, unstoppable weight of the legal system powered by undeniable evidence. She lit the match, but I simply stepped back and let the truth burn everything she had built. She tried to destroy me for money. Instead, she destroyed herself. And the cruelest, most perfect irony? The entire fall was captured in high definition, with her own words sealing her fate.